what we're going to just witness is like a lot of internal tussle between the ruling class. This is like their once every 4 year show. To just pretend to us as if there's something fundamentally going to change and all that. So that's what we're going to see. But it's going to come across. It's going to you be like a theatrical stuff for the masses to just look at, and then some will go and say, "Oh, it's Tinubu," some will say it was Shibajo, not out, these kind of things, and boom, once the election is done, we're back to square one. And then the downward sink continues. Since none of the candidates are appearing to tackle any of these fundamental things that we talk, about. So. Whoever they choose is still that downward spiral in which the country has kind of been locked in by the ruling class that have now kind of split themselves up into different political parties.
Do you know, I mean, I agree, obviously that's the case, right? But like from election to election, there can be interesting variation in how people try to sell themselves. So, like the 2019 election, this whole thing started coming out where like, Buhari was sort of pitching himself as the kind of statist candidate, or at least, some segments of the media were framing them as like the statist party, and then Atiku as the kind of like marketist party, like, oh, I'm going to privatize, blah, blah, blah. And like, obviously that stuff was pantomime. Maybe there's some aspects to it. Maybe there's some aspects, some truth to it in some respects, but by and large it seems to me like it was a lot of pantomime, and yet there was some like tiny bit of entertainment value to it. But this time I don't know, man, like maybe it's just me, but I don't really see too much entertainment value in the election as it seems to be playing out now. Obviously we're not at the point where we have two candidates, so maybe it changes when it gets to that, but at this stage, it just seems like a lot of ethnicism. Am I wrong? I don't know.
Well, yeah, it just seems as if I'm the one talking and the maker is quite quiet at all, So maybe maker wants to say something there. Maybe I'll put my point in.
No, I think, if you're going to respond to the question, you can go ahead. Because what I have in mind isn't, well, it probably concerns elections, but from the point of view of what the left is doing, what they're not doing.
Yeah, no, it's all related, man. What's your take?
Yeah, so, that's what I think that would be interesting for me to see whether there's any whether there are any serious moves by the left to form a party or push a candidate under some kind of socialist party umbrella, and then definitely how the electorate reacts to this. But more importantly, what strategies said party exist. So,
well, yeah, but to be honest, that's part of why I'm saying that so far it's like looked pretty uninspiring, because where is the left party or candidate? If we're like a year before the election, shouldn't we already know that?
Yeah. And what's the groundwork? What's the plan? What are
right.
Plans?
Yeah.
I think the left is not solid in terms of organization up to a point where they will be able to like weather the storm or dodge or even scale the hurdles that the ruling class has thrown at them and is still throwing at them. Because if we are to assume that, okay, maybe the AAC, that's your rest party, is like a left alternative that's succeeded, in having that political party establishment that is registered. In fact, they registered some parties last year, and then we are down to some certain number. I don't know, but not too much now, And if you are scaled, there's like an internal strife within his party where, like I think elements in the ruling class or even INEC itself is trying to hijack the party and steer the leadership away from Shore's hand or something, So
the
that
leadership
problem
is currently disputed, right?
Yeah, there has to be a vehicle that the left uses, to arrive at least being a fielding candidates, fielding people to be on the ballot box and for choice now. And let's not forget that he has treason charges and all that. How are you going to be on the ballot box and what are you going to do? I think it's kind of like a setback, for the movement, because okay, we have MOP now. I don't even think that's a registered party. Sean Kuti came up with that. I don't think that's a registered party. I don't know the status of Socialist Party of Nigeria. We don't know the status of Labour Party. Like all these things, there are constellations that are supposed to have, there are elements in the constellation that are supposed to come together now for us to see as people, that are looking for genuine alternatives. That okay, yeah, look at this guy. This is where we're going to follow. These are North Star now. But unfortunately, they are sorely missing from the terrain of the political debate. It's almost getting too late, because first and foremost, people have to familiarize with your manifesto. Consistency is key. All these kind of things. And if you're not on the on social media, if you're not on the ground, if you're not in people's faces, if you're not talking to them daily, if you've not even mapped out a strategic framework or roadmap wherein you can, call the people to get in or follow or tag along, then it will be little too late. Like it will be too late for you to come.
But actually, I have a question. That's
all right.
Yeah, I have a question on that point. And like, obviously, this suggests that we should try to engage with that conversation this year, right? But should the left even run at this point? I mean, as late as it is, with all the squabbling around, party chairmanship in AAC, with the other parties that, for instance, Socialist Party of Nigeria that you mentioned, or MOP, that we don't even know if they have structures. And then there's PRP, in the North, which I know has a historical structure, but, to what extent is that functional at the moment? I know they have the former INEC chairman, the electoral umpire chairman, Atahiru Jega on the party. But, the party is more than one person. So this late in the calendar, with so few seemingly viable structures on ground, should the left actually even be a part of it? And I ask that question because there are some kind of runs that you do, some kind of electoral runs that you pursue, where it's almost better that you didn't run because of the disenchanting result that can come out of it, because of like how poorly you might do. So, I mean, is this one time when actually it's better to sort of sit on the sidelines and like offer criticism, or it's better to like use the time to build? Or do you think it's worthwhile, like strategically, to still throw a hat in the ring?
I think, we as people that have studied history and people that, know how, okay, we have theoretical understanding, practice, we have to dialect, we have to look at our condition, specific condition. I think as revolutionaries, we should not shy away, from any terrain of struggle that is open to us, regardless. Like we're not bamboozled by the fact that election is going to be our way out. It's just going to be a means to organize people and to register our presence in the subconscious of the people. We know we are not jokers. We are not people that live in a dreamland, that the election or electioneering game in this country is rigged, that kind of thing. But it will also serve as a way for us to register our presence. We can't be out of it. We know every time we're talking to people, we know that, look, this thing is not your salvation, because this thing is money based. Before you get into it, like it takes so much. There's violence by the states. The collation of the results is not, free and fair. All these kind of things. Like, but it's a way to get people under a certain umbrella, such that if you have the critical mass to even stop the election or like pull people out there and say, look, this is our manifesto. This is the will that you guys have been riding on for a long time now, and they've not given you anything. Like, so this is what we want to do. And these are the reasons, why election will not do anything. There was a time when Chiwara was campaigning, I think the 2015, he said that this PVC, this thing is not the way, it's not your salvation. I'm just here to show you why it doesn't work.
Yeah.
The man said it. So like, but we should just see it as a way of organizing the people, we are not. It's not the final goal. It's not the final aim.
Yeah.
The final aim is to change the structure of society. So, but we shouldn't just sit on the sidelines because of the level of consciousness of the people. They feel that electioneering or election is the only key or the only way in which they can even listen to them. There are new candidates coming up and getting runs. Although they might be supported by this same elites, wherein maybe like a week to election, they will just decamp and say they are for PDP or APC, but they are getting engagements online, so we should also throw our hearts in and present something that we know that the game is rigged. We know, but it's just going to be a way to organize the people, and then from there we can still keep on hammering on where we want society to go. That will not be missing from what we'll be saying or what our discussion will be. At every step of the way, we'll keep reminding the people that this thing, we're just helping you see why it won't work.
Yeah, all right.
So that's the thing. That's just the thing. We're not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, no problem. No problem.
Emeka, do you buy that?
In part, yes. In part, no. I think that in as much as the end goal would be to change, the structure of society, by which basically what socialists mean is that that they're saying that rather than the elite having power, that the people have power. But I think that that to say that elections don't work wouldn't be right. I think it's I wouldn't agree with it. I don't know if it's right, but I wouldn't agree with it because it's one route to power, and it's one that the left needs to consider seriously.
Okay, no, but I don't think he meant it theoretically. I think he meant it like practically in Nigeria, as in like.
Yeah, thank you. I was going to say that, but I wanted him to finish the point.
Right.
Because of course we've seen socialists that have gone through elections in other countries. So if it goes in, fine, we'll implement our action. Yeah, and if not, we'll still keep on organizing.
Oh, okay. I mean,
That's what I mean.
Yeah. Okay. So that was my own, point of departure. But now that we're on the same page.
Okay, then let me. No, after you. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, but I also think that it's the left needs to show, put in some work. It needs to show where that it's serious, that it has a different message, that and that and then strategically. I don't, considering the time factor, I don't expect that the left can do anything. There's no magic wand anywhere, but if the strategy is, we want to, slug it out Lagos, for instance, want to slug it out in Calabar, then you say maybe okay, we want to slug it out seriously in 5, states in Nigeria, and then we want to slug it out at just local government level, and then we point all our resources into this. I think that bit by bit, small inroads, little inroads, over time, over say maybe another election cycle, that they will be well placed, to really go for kill. But so those are the little things I want to see, in terms of strategy, and then begin to take whatever left parties willing to go down that way, seriously. Otherwise, we're just going to be talking.
But that's
where's
fair.
The left, where?
That's fair, and the like local, like building from local or trying out, your hand electorally in smaller districts and such is an interesting conversation. I'm sure we'll come back to. It's fascinating to see how people respond to that. By people, I mean politicians who want to, like leftist politicians who want to run at the national level, because I know they have various takes about that. For instance, like, I've posed that question to Shehu Kuti before, and he's like, has expressed some skepticism about trying to do socialism in one local government kind of thing. But let me play the devil's advocate a bit. I know we're not here to talk only about left political prospects, but isn't there an argument that can say that in the context of Nigeria as it stands, with like how late things are in this electoral cycle, with how substantial the power of the kind of mainstream parties are at the moment. And given the fact that like some of the main leftist challengers have been blocked legally or otherwise, is there an argument for like a strategic boycott, where you redirect your resources to maybe non-electoral initiatives, you piggyback on the energy of people being a little more socially engaged during this period of time, but you use it to criticize the system and then to build some other kind of platform, some other kind of organizing impetus. And I say this for another reason. It's like I was saying, like there's some kind of losses that are more disempowering than they are like useful from a learning standpoint. And even more important than that, we saw the left throw up some candidates 4 years ago, in the last election. And I'm not convinced that just having run in that election contributed to any kind of sustained organizing after it. In fact, it seemed like there was this huge buildup to the election. It happened, and then that energy dissipated, knowing that, well, these guys, they decide to run. So, let's wait till another election to do anything. So there's a way in which elections then sap the energy, actually, that can be redirected into other initiatives, including labor, right? Including like actually trying to struggle, like OAG saying that there are various terrains of struggle. Well, there are other terrains of struggle, perhaps, that the elections are sucking some energy and attention from. So, I mean, isn't there an argument or how would you consider the argument that says, well, actually, maybe there's some sense in sitting out some particular, electoral context and redirecting that energy elsewhere?
I think, it's something to chew on. The issues that you raised, but my own take would be, this would be, a viable option. Say if, the left started to organize or channel energies in a certain direction 3 months ago, and then, it will give us grounds to say, okay, we started 3 months ago, we're not quite there yet. Let's focus on building, what we've just started, and then, think seriously about contesting, in the next election. But that's not, to my knowledge, that's not something that's in the pipeline. So, what I think, I don't see any harm in, pulling whatever resources, because these resources, of course, we know are, very thin.
Finite.
So, rather than going, the whole 9 yards, how about you just, to try and do 2 yards and try and do it well. It's not like you're even going to make any nobody expects that you make any real impact, but just keep, the conversations in places where they matter. And then we see that we'll see if over the next, 4 years or 5 years, you can then begin to branch out. But who knows? It's all, this is just all hypothetical. I don't know if, that anything is happening, that there's any real plan. Of course, I know that Jaga, I hear that Jaga is planning to run. But what's the groundwork that's being laid already? I have.
Yeah.
So can I join a PRP, my local government? I don't know how to go about that.
Yeah, I think only Turner and I can join PRP at the moment, probably at this local government, because there's one base in our neighborhood, as far as I know. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if there anywhere else.
To add a bit to what Emeka said, like, if there's no organization, and linking your organization to, the structure of society and what's really going on, then you really, at every single point in time, disempowered to make any or to leave any dent on, that thing that you want to change. Like, for example, if there was proper organization on the left now, it would have recruited thousands of people during that NSAS time. if there was proper organization, like thousands of people, because without any mass action or mass movement, there's no way you can resort to any election or something outside of election. There's no way you can resort to that because you don't have the critical mass, you don't have anything, So how do you marry, the misery of the people, to divert them into your own revolutionary organization such that they have a long-term goal? That, okay, this is NSAS. It's one of the many tentacles of this monster that we're facing. This is electricity hike. This is land grabbing. This is housing deficit. This is this, like, it's all a big ball. And then it means the people are always charged, politically charged, because the system doesn't stop giving them something to complain about. We have daily contradiction from police shooting this one every day. They are mature enough to know that it's a system throwing out and vomiting it's nasty parts, So anything that happens, the people see the need daily because of that organization that the left has gone to work to do that they aren't doing now. It will have made the people politically charged such that if we don't have an election that promises to be free and fair, that doesn't open up space for people to get in, or that is not like money based, or that is money based or something. Like, if you have those kind of things, then the people resort to freezing electoral activities up until some necessary requirements are made, which might mean maybe restructuring the country, which might mean changing the constitution, which might mean a lot of things. So it still goes back to that lack of organization, because a gap opened, and then, with that NSAS thing, look at the way people came out, thousands of people, maybe millions, we don't know, but because of that lack of organization, the whole thing just dissipated. And this is where that dissipation comes in. It now leaves the people into despair. And then, in fact, it becomes cynical because, this didn't we come out like this? What didn't come out of them? Didn't all of us come out like police just shoot people? They don't do anything. This Nigeria, I don't feel good again because something. This is what you keep hearing because no organization did to channel that thing there. And this is where the left, they snooze, like how the left wants to come together to strategically pull their resources, Or was Emeka going to say something?
Yeah, I've been want to ask one question. I mean, so that if I was on the outside listening to us talk, my first question would be: these people with the talk shit, they no be left. So within them they do. You understand?
Will they provide
motivation?
Will they provide updated, timely analysis?
Because when OAG was talking, while OAG was talking, I just couldn't help, but I kept thinking,
third person view.
Say why? I mean, really, So what's debarring us, from starting? Because the thing that caught me was OAG says, the left should have, and that's true, massively recruited during the entire thing, and but I also think that it's not too late, I mean, and how do these things start? Just a small database of maybe 100 people, but let's not even put any number on it. Say 50 people, just that you recruit on the internet for some base, and you just want to know what do you do? What do you do? How can we use you? How can we use you? And then it just starts from there, and then we then begin to have this conversation, right? And then begin to really say that, okay, this is the idea of a left party. This is what the left party might want to do differently, using some of the issues that you raised, with the electricity hike, with fuel price of gasoline, all the things that we usually talk about, offer alternative perspectives on on the podcast. But,
but
have the much more. But I'm just saying. I mean, that's one way to think about. Start organizationally starting.
No, definitely.
Something. And I'm raising this because I think it ties into what some of the things we might want to do, during the course of the year in terms of what our goals are, but it's just a suggestion. Well, it's some kind of critique, but also some kind of suggestion as to, ways, to think about the year and what it
Yeah.
might offer politically, for us.
No, it's fair. I mean, I guess, yeah, there's a part of that that makes, definitely, like, when you talk about the fact that some of these things, like, you can start small, obviously that's indisputable. And obviously, like, at the level of the organizations that we're part of, these are things that we push, I can imagine that an OAG's organization, even though it's more kind of political education focused than electoral focus, if I understand correctly. Like, these are conversations that come up. And in the kinds of organizations I'm part of, like, we talk, for instance, during NSAS, there were Zoom calls that, we hosted or attended, right? And like, there were upwards of 400 people that would show up on the Zoom call from all around the world. So obviously all those people's email addresses are still there or whatever. What we're addressing is the kind of lack of impetus or the inertia that one faces when you try to propose something like that or move in that direction. Like, why isn't that second nature? Why isn't that like fairly easy to push along? And I think I would say that there are certain entrenched ways of seeing the world in Nigeria and of operating in Nigeria that sort of
blocks.
Yeah, that blocks that kind of initiative. And you can understand why, people have been kind of beat down.
Yeah.
People on the left in particular have been beat down, and like, people have been fighting the fight for decades now, and like, just haven't seen a lot of progress, or they've seen reversals. So you can understand why people aren't like as keen on various experiments. But at the same time, it's like, you need those experiments to get more people interested, to get more people excited, and to change things, right? It can't be the same thing. So yeah, I mean, I hear you on the, like, there are like possibilities on the table that feel like they're just sitting there. But I think it's also worth like coming to that like confronting the fact that, yeah, like, why there's a reason why they're just sitting there. Like, there's a reason why, beyond just saying that, we should ourselves do like a 4-man Mopo invasion of Nigerian politics, which I don't know if I have the stomach for that. Moreover, what would that accomplish? Yeah, so all that to say, like, these things are the reason why that's not happened is like worth exploring. Do you know what I mean? It's not. Yeah.
Yeah, but you see, what the conversation that we're having right now is not new. I mean, it's not new at all. It's a conversation that was more even hotly debated in 1979 as within the left, and there are within factions of the left, at least 3 factions of the left, asking whether it was right, was strategically all right for them to go into the election year. At the end of it all, I mean, this is popular history. What you found was that a certain faction went with PR, certain faction aligned with UPN.
Yeah.
So those were the 2 parties, where, and then a certain faction, the 3rd faction, which didn't even think that it was worthwhile.
Stayed out of it.
Complete, and that faction that stayed out kept on saying that you can't even go into an election when you don't have a newspaper, for instance, that the left doesn't even own any solid paper that circulates, even significant. Now, I'm saying that in 1978, the biggest selling paper probably didn't even do 10,000 copies around. But what I'm driving at here is, you don't have to go into politics head on, but you could do things, in ways that build, capacity, so that when that you have a bit of reach, so that if there's a political party that comes on stream, they have some platform on which to stand.
But this is the point I was trying to get at, maybe not very articulately a moment ago, when I was saying that maybe the election is a distraction for the left, because maybe the left we have now is not a left that actually is fit for electoral competition. Maybe it's a left that's fit for running a newspaper, or like doing labor organizing, or doing beach cleanups every month, like, or doing hikes, like a hiking group.
No bicycle rides.
Maybe it's that kind of situation we're in. So if you're in that situation and you're trying to, like, you've not finished lifting 10 pounds and you want to lift 150 pounds, then it might not build your strength to do the 150.
I feel
it might sprain your muscles.
I feel it's still a symptom of lack of organization, because if the left was properly organized, it go know first and foremost the historical duty. Then from that historical duty, how if you slice them up into layers, say, at this point in time, showing a lack of consciousness, they worry our people. Okay, more we design programs, we go target their consciousness, we go raise them. Like, these are opportunities, some opportunities open up in society where, it gives a jump in the rise of, the people's consciousness. You can target that. You can have daily propaganda, machinery. You can educate people. You can do songs. There are a lot of things. Social media don't do now. Like, but another thing again that I feel is a major problem is that the left itself, as Emeka has mentioned, factions day even since all those times, and it's still day now. Where we say none don't fit come up with basic smallest program, agreeable program amongst all those factions where everybody fit pull, gather resources and put propellants behind, make it move.
Yeah.
Nobody, we never get that thing. So everybody, they dissipate energy. Some go say there are a lot of organizations that, due to, as me at work, you get things where you go to hear, where you go to see. Some go there, they want to do like the crowd funding. If you can organize local government, your community, and fund, that's Arise Nigeria. You use your money, put your own candidates in, and then know that they're responsible, to you, and you can always question them. Some is, let's go into the streets. We've actually been on the street, sharing leaflets, all these kind of things, talking to people. There's the idea of community power based, like organizing communities so that you can resist oppression. There's the idea of doing things on social media, YouTube, all these kind of things. Like, but where do we come to have like a basic minimal program in terms of, okay, this is a multi-layered approach where we're doing propaganda before the election cycle comes, like to have primed the people for what we want to see? How do you use all this information on the news to steer the people towards revolutionary action? How do you use what has happened with NSAS to steer the people towards revolutionary action? Do we have like, a media, which I would think Sahara reporters will have been good to have, like, create a day, maybe Revolutionary Thursdays, to tell us about how people have suffered in their own countries and then what they did. Let's kind of prime the people's mind for this decisive collision with the ruling class. Like, start priming them so they will know that this thing is not a joke, and then there are ways, our own case no different, ways the way we say we use, it will be multi-pronged. But we're not going to sit down, they wait until 3.5 years, can't start to run 6 months.
Obviously there's I think what we all agreed on in our comments a moment ago is that there is a need for like leftist media, so be it newspapers or podcasts like ourselves, or Sahara taking a more overtly radical standpoint. But media can only accomplish so much. I know that media is powerful. There's a lot it can do, but there's a lot it can't do as well, like in terms of the actual
mobilization.
The actual groundwork of getting people to go and do that groundwork. And like, I think there should also be a division of labor. Like, not everybody should be getting involved in every aspect of everything, right? So maybe we should specialize to some extent. Like, there's some people who focus on political education, like, say OAG's organization or some stuff I'm part of, or like people who focus on jokes, like where are the leftists? Where are the leftist humorists?
Comedians, yes. The stand-up comedians.
Emeka, one of the funniest guys around, is
the leftist
right
mathematicians or data analysts.
I'm listening, but I don't think I don't know, and I also don't think I agree with you when you say that I think that the media can go a long way in mobilization. I mean, the bourgeoisie parties, for instance, or big players within the bourgeoisie parties with own newspapers, and that's how somehow ways in which they try and it's about reach, really, because at the end of the day, if you're sending out messages, sending out propaganda, it's a communicative tool, and you also want feedback. It's one thing that I don't think we prize enough, the feedback that you get,
For sure.
when that you whole letters, the editors section, just general letters, and then you tend to know this person is writing from Jalingo, this person is writing from here, so we're reaching people there, so that when you then have that capacity to organize like a real big left party, it's the people you want to sign up. It's basically that readership who you primed already, the consciousness that
No, I agree with you. I'm not debating the fact that the
yeah.
media can play a role, but I mean, in a context where, you talk about a readership, but like most people
or followership,
can't read, and the people who don't read. So, like, yeah, no, not to be this sort of negative Nancy, but I mean, I guess I think media has a role. I think it's very important to do what we're doing. And in fact, I think we should get better at it and like, commit to being more of a left media, right? But that also means not getting ourselves involved in everything else. Like, that's the point I'm making, that like, some people should stick to some things. And maybe the left we have right now just isn't.
Yeah.
And so, maybe the left we have right
all
now.
These things,
okay, one thing we've definitely proven is that the left we have right now cannot win elections.
Definitely.
Well, that's
not even one local government.
Okay.
Not now.
So
not now.
That's the case. And they can't win general elections. But maybe we can win some elections in unions, Maybe we can, there's some unions that are already
example with that.
There's some unions that like, there's some unions here that are like run by lefties. But how about the larger unions? Like what you're saying
Maybe they should
about
start cleaning house from there.
exactly, because that's supposed to be the base anyway. Or one of the
there they
strategic
go
bases.
look to understand where left they historically, where we supposed they. And then this thing still speaks back to that lack of organization. Still, if we look all this NOI, Nation of Islam and all that, Malcolm X and a good orator. They don't say make it they write this thing. They don't say make it they go.
In fact,
Sabi talk. Oh yeah, they go talk.
Make we not even go that far.
Make we.
So I know I'm hugging the mic, but like, do you know what was okay? Now, the disclaimer to the DSS people listening: I'm not endorsing this organization. I think.
But
do you know what? Yeah, no. I was gonna say. Do you know what is where we've seen like really, really effective organization by scholars and intellectuals in Nigeria in the past decade is Boko Haram, right? Because it's like a bunch of basically scholars, right? Like radical, in a sense, intellectuals who started putting their messages on CDs, like started organizing in mosques, in Maiduguri. And before you know it, they had like a sort of movement that was challenging sort of hegemonic structures globally. Now, again, I'm not endorsing, obviously, deeply problematic, violent, chaotic, sadistic organization, denounced, blah, 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 blah. But like, even in our own context, you see that there are certain strings you pull that like people respond to. And there's a certain like approach to intellectualism or, organizing that takes the message to the people that actually can have quite an effect.
Yeah, it does anyway, and of course these are, religious angles, cultural angles, ethnic angles, like, and I was going to say Nnamdi Kanu stuff, because he started with Biafra Radio, I think, if I'm not wrong. He does his own stuff, and this is leading to some actions on the ground, or this has led to some actions on the ground, so make we sure I know, say, for one strand,
Yeah.
if na propaganda, this thing, we go do our own. If na organization for grant, we go do our own. If na election, we did there. If na to the talk, we did there. Make it we shall day. Though may we not burn ourselves out. So it has this specialized division of labor thing, so that as a whole, we know that there's the leftist agenda being pushed on all fronts. That's just what I think. We could just analyze our trends and see where we go feel concentrate more, depending on what history need at this point in time and what we feel do.
Sorry. I didn't say you don't talk and finish, really. I mean, I don't know where that person. I mean, just to reiterate what you have said or to rehash what you just said. Kanu, IPOB. What Said says for Boko Haram, I'd say for IPOB. I found it fascinating in the 1 year that I spent in Enugu years back, how transporters were buying how do you call them, face caps, flags, also raising money for IPOB, bar whatever comes from elite funding, or diaspora funding. These guys were actually selling franchise, and then you had transporters, you had market people buying this franchise, and it meant to me that okay, and I didn't think about it in the manner that you speak now, Weiji, that okay, this is some gravitation from just online radio.
Yeah, that's true.
On the street movement, or ground movement. So you see that migration from digital technology into on the street. I'd like to see that happen, say from Twitter, Facebook, within the left, and I say this because of the demography that you usually find in those spaces, and those are the guys, because part of the reason why, the left is where it is today is that it's not been replenished. You don't have, a lot of young blood, you have them as independent people, just talking about learning here, talking about trustee there, and engaging in all sorts of arguments, but there's no real cohesion, there's no real organization. And these guys have the skill set when, cumulatively, to really push a really serious movement, but it starts from somewhere. I mean, that's I think that OAG, like I said, is just for me the nail on the head.
Yep. Yeah. Same.
Yeah.
I think what we'll see from mid-year down is just the different configurations of the internal tussle between the ruling. It's going to come in numerous dimensions.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll just be there flanking those things as they play out, and then just giving an analysis of what's going on, and also to just keep people focused on, look, you guys don't get carried away by this game. This is what is up. This is what's up. So we'll see numerous dimensions. Ethnicity will play out, religion will play out, money games will play out. I know it will all play out. There are tools that are going to be used by the ruling class, for their retention of power, and then to keep tricking the people as to believing in this facade or this thing that they call election in this our context for now. So keep doing our work.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts? Are we good?
Yeah, we're good. We're good. Yeah. Over here, we're good.
I'm fine.
Wow.
Yeah.
No final thought for Rebecca. It's a new year.
The warm up now. We're gonna get on this off All right, okay.
All right.
Peace.
Good job, guys.
Cheers, guys.